The affordability president, Donald Trump, just got disastrous news. Inflation has spiked to 4.2% year over year. Energy is up and is a big driver of that 4.2% inflation number. Inflation has now surpassed the 4% mark for the first time in 3 years. You have to go all the way back to, actually, let's see here, April of 2023, July 2022. You've got to go back a ways. Yeah, March and April of 2023 to see higher numbers. We've got the numbers up on the screen. In fact, I'm going to switch this to a 10-year view. If we consider the COVID inflation spike something beyond the control of any global leader, which of course it was, if you take out the fact that during COVID inflation was high, inflation in the United States is higher right now than it has been in more than 10 years. Take out this COVID spike in the middle and you look at 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, inflation at 4.2% today under the affordability president who was going to bring prices down, gas down, energy down, groceries down, housing down, knickknacks and tchotchkes down, is higher than it has been, other than COVID, in a decade. Here is CNBC reporting on this new inflation data.
The index that goes back to 1913 comes in at 335. Why do I mention that? Because it's another new all-time high. After 100 and X years, we are now continually, almost on a month-over-month basis, moving up on the index. And if you look at the core index, same scenario, except for 336. This started in 57, once again a record. You know what? I think we need to also look at real average hourly earnings. Year over year, they came in minus 0.7. And the reason I'm looking at these, because last month we turned it negative at minus 0.3, first negative number since Feb of 23. Now this now becomes the most negative number also since Feb of 23, because that was minus 1.1. And if we look at year over year weekly average hourly earnings, same scenario. It turned negative last month at minus 0.2, first time since May of 23. Now it's even more negative at minus 0.4.
We're going to get to the wage issue in a moment. The most important element of understanding what's taking place here is that Trump did this. This is optional. Remember those Biden stickers that the MAGA-Patamians would put on the gas pumps? Biden, I did this. We need Trump stickers. We need them all over gas pumps. I need them on my avocados. I need them on my beloved Granny Smith apples. I need them on my electrical bill. We need them all over this entire economy. I did that with Donald Trump. Food prices, by the way, Trump promised they would come down. This is an important part of people's budget. It relates also to health and nutrition. What are people eating? What are people able to afford to eat? Food prices continue up. And critically, wages are down, meaning inflation is up, but it's not the case that, well, inflation is up 4.2, but wages are up 5. People's purchasing power has actually grown over time. No. Inflation is at a 3+ year high, 10+ year high, excluding COVID, and wages are down. Now, remember that in January, Donald Trump said inflation solved. He says prices are down, it's over, it's all fixed up.
Literally, it just shows how hard it is to clean up, even after you close it. It shows the price that we paid under Joe Biden.
It's the hardest thing when you think of it. You know, inflation we've solved. It's done. We have it good where prices are coming way down.
Yep, we solved it, folks.
They were just saying in Iowa, the fuel is $1.95. Did you hear that? Somebody said $1.85, but it was $3.50, $4.50 just a year and a half ago. You look at eggs, you look at groceries, it's all down. Everything's come down. Do you notice they don't mention affordability anymore?
Yeah, well, they do, and we do, and inflation is at its highest point in Trump's second term and at its highest point in more than 3 years. First, really quick, a word from our sponsor. There isn't one mattress that's perfect for everybody. Some people want firmer, some want softer, some are side sleepers, back sleepers. A mattress that's good for one person might not be the right one for somebody else. That is the idea behind our sponsor, Helix Sleep. Instead of one generic mattress, hoping it works for everyone, Helix sends you a mattress that is based on your specific sleeping needs and preferences. I've been sleeping on a Helix mattress for years now. It fits my sleep style perfectly because before I got it, I took the Helix sleep quiz. I answered questions and I was matched perfectly with the right mattress for me. Support, but not too stiff. Cushioning, but not too much. And Helix also has free shipping, a 120-night sleep trial, and a limited lifetime warranty. Go to helixsleep.com/Pakman and you'll get 20% off site-wide. The link is in the description. Now, back to the video. What about Trump was asked in a different interview, what about people worried about the price of gas and the price of groceries? And Trump goes, I inherited high prices and they are down. We fixed the problem.
What about people who don't have 401ks and they're worried about gas or groceries? We hear about that
I
a lot.
inherited very high prices when I came in. I inherited the highest inflation in the history of our country. You know, Biden had like 9-10% inflation.
And of course, we know that that's not true. As you can see here, Trump did not inherit the highest inflation in the history of our country. Trump was sworn in January of 2025. I've got my mouse cursor there. And as you see, inflation was 3% at that point in time, not the highest in history.
I inherited that, and we have it way down. And then I said, I did have to say, we have to do something about Iran, because regardless of how well we're doing, we can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. So listen, they've tried to say there's an affordability hoax. Democrats made this up as a political issue. Democrats didn't make it up. We've got the numbers. Inflation is now at its highest since April of 2023. It's been more than 3 years. Inflation is at more than double the Fed's target rate of 2%. At 4.2%, it is more than double that 2% target. And as you look around and you say, well, what are the priorities of this president? Is he at least working hard to deal with this issue? Well, he's building a UFC arena at the White House. He's attending the NBA Finals in New York. He's golfing. He's running an optional war in Iran that is causing much of this to begin with. And other presidents have had no choice but to deal with higher inflation or global economic situations. Even during his first term, you could say he screwed it up, but Trump didn't create COVID. Every country was dealing with that. Trump dealt with it particularly terribly, but that wasn't of Trump's doing. This is optional. This is a self-inflicted screw up by Donald Trump. And this is why, you know, when you looked at COVID, one of the reasons Trump lost in 2020 was he screwed up the response. It's not a guarantee that COVID screws you up politically if you deal with it well. You look at Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand at the time, or you could look around the world. Everybody had to deal with COVID, but there were world leaders who were seen as working in a reasonable way with medical experts and finding the right balance between health guidelines and individual freedom. And voters said, hey, I think they did a good job. We're going to reelect them easily in some cases in the middle of COVID. One of the reasons Trump lost is he didn't create COVID, but he screwed up the response to it. Here we have a different situation where it's Trump is proactively doing things that are bad for the country, bad for the economy, bad for the average person. And it makes sense to hold Trump's party accountable. Now, let me just say one more thing about this. I'm still getting some of these emails that go, you know, David, I don't know. I'm a Republican. I don't think Trump's doing a good job, but I do think my elected official is doing fine. My congressperson in South Carolina or my governor in Texas or whatever. My message to you is to consider whether those individuals that you think are doing a good job support publicly what Donald Trump has been doing. Do they vote for everything Trump wants them to vote for? Because what you will find is that there are these elected officials that a lot of people go, well, I don't like what Trump's doing, but I'm fine with my elected official. They've voted with what Trump wants when things come up in the House of Representatives or in the Senate 85, 90, 95, 97% of the time. And so it is valid to hold the Trump rubber stampers accountable in November, even if Trump's not on the ballot. If you think Trump's done a poor job, part of the poor job Trump has done with some things are executive orders, some are decisions Trump makes unilaterally. But with a lot of these things, there has been consent from the House and or Senate for what Trump has done. And it is absolutely valid to hold your elected officials accountable for that. Let's do that in November. That's my suggestion. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.